Yes, the title of the video is correct. I have dumped $25,000 of my own money into Palantir stock, and here's why. So I want to keep this short and sweet. This is one of my first videos on this channel about stocks and finance and investing and analysis, and I want to do a lot more videos coming up in the future about my thoughts about stocks because I'm getting super into it and just like becoming a nerd for the stock market. But Palantir is one of the first stocks that I have gone deep into because of the research I've done, because of the analysis I've done, and ultimately because I think this is going to make me a lot of money. So first, let me show a screenshot here somewhere to show that I'm not lying. I am down around 3 grand right now, which is totally fine. My average is about 25, 37. I want to get it down to like maybe 24. Yes, I did buy a little bit higher, but I'm not too worried because I am a long-term investor. So the short-term movements between 22, 23, 24, 25, it's not the biggest deal for me because this is a stock that I see becoming $200 in the next 5, 6, 7 years. So I'm going to be doing a lot more videos in the future around Palantir and around other stocks that I'm interested in and just finance and investing in general. But here's some of the core reasons why I invested a lot of money into Palantir. Number one, I think they have a technology solution that other companies are not going to be able to match no matter how hard they try, given the history of this company in particular. One of the things to understand about Palantir is that they've been a company that's been started for the past 17 years, right? They didn't just start yesterday. Their direct public listing back in 2020 was after 17 years of developing the product. So when you have a company that's been doing something for 17 years and ultimately developing a product for 17 years, you end up having a really good product that is able to go to market and establish itself because it has been building itself. It's gone through all the trial, experimentation, and failure over the past basically 2 decades. So I was ultimately really impressed with the product. Now, what is the product that they offer? I know that it's really hard sometimes for people to understand what Palantir does and sort of like get their mind across what the company really is, but essentially it's actually very simple to me once I started to do a little bit of research, which is your company, which is most companies in the world, has data. And companies that have data need to leverage that data in order to figure out how to optimize what decisions they can make using that data to get the most efficient and effective and predictable outcomes. So if you're a company that has to match different variables coming from a ton of different standpoints around the standpoint of your business, if there could be a software that could use artificial intelligence, which is just a code word for very advanced trained simulations of combining tons of different variables of data together, put it into a system, and then that system just tells you what to do for the most optimal outcome, then you've got a piece of software that can fundamentally change the world. Think about Google back in 1999. There were a ton of different search engines that existed, and all those different search engines operated in their own way. What made Google really unique is their PageRank algorithm. When they were able to scrape the entire web and then show you the most relevant stuff within ranking the pages, which was their sort of proprietary way of innovating in search, then they ended up dominating the entire world. Palantir is one of those companies that, because of understanding artificial intelligence and the level of 17 years of going back and forth and figuring out how to really use AI to synthesize data information and data analytics, they are at that stage where if they take over the market, i.e. introduce a product that every single company and government in the world will be able to use because every single company and government have enough data, because data is the new gold, which we'll get into in a little bit, then they ultimately become something that everyone in the world uses. And the reason everyone in the world uses them is because everyone in the world needs to know how to leverage their data or use their data to do something meaningful to drive business outcomes. That might seem like a simple analysis, but I mean, that's what Google is, right? It's pretty simple. You type something in and you get a result. And the way they organize the information that they show you is the basis for Google being a $2 trillion company. Same thing to me for Palantir. Like if a company can just take their software, their like sort of flagship software Foundry, and put it into their organization and have it permeate throughout the entire organization, then it becomes much more likely that the company is going to be having effective business decisions and outcomes, which means you have a SaaS product, a software as a service company that is operating at very high margins, being able to offer their service through a software in any company in the world that has to leverage data. Now, this whole concept of data being the new gold, I know you've probably heard this a bunch of times. I even felt kind of silly for saying it because I feel like it's such an overused term. But data really is the new gold because the more data you have on things, the more things you can do with that data. So data didn't used to be available like 2 decades ago, right? Like, so think about a company like Facebook. The reason they are the company they are is because they have data that they can condense and synthesize and then use advertising mechanisms to take that data and target the best ads in front of you, which is why they become $1 trillion company, because the whole world wants to get more attention from people, and the whole world needs the data of those people they're trying to target with ads, and Facebook is the place where you go to ultimately create that advertising strategy. Every company in the world needs the data on their customers, on their competitors, on their supply chains, whatever it may be, to ultimately figure out how to advance and grow the business. The problem is when you have all that data, you don't necessarily know how to synthesize that data and use that data in an effective way that saves you time, saves you energy, saves you money, and also just gets the answer done, right? You don't need to have like 17 meetings with your board of directors to figure out how to use data. You just need software, if it existed, to tell you what to do with your data. And that's what Palantir. Now, in terms of why I dropped 25,000 into it, look, honestly, it's just because there were opportunities for me to go all in on certain stocks over the past couple of years, and I didn't take those opportunities for a variety of different reasons, and I didn't want this time to be the same. Like, I kind of learned from those mistakes. There were opportunities where I could have gone all in on Shopify when it was like $100, or all in on Tesla when it was also like $200 pre-split, and I didn't do that. And it's got to the point where if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're not going to become a better investor. So for me, this is not all of my portfolio. I would say it's about like 40% of my portfolio, but it is a sizable amount that I wanted to put in there, and I'm probably going to put in another $5-6 grand and just see how it plays out. Ultimately, I have this for the next 5-6 years on the time horizon, even the decade. You know, I don't need this 25,000 right now. So if it goes down to 10,000 because there's a major drop, okay, I'm going to load up more. And this is the beauty of having conviction in a stock and really believing and trusting in the long-term vision and understanding what your company does. Because as of the Q3 earnings, it dropped like 18%, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, like, the day it dropped, I added another $3 grand into it. And the reason for that was just because I understand what I'm investing in. I understand what I'm going to ultimately expect. I don't have short-term expectations. I have long-term expectations. So this money to me is going to quadruple, if not more, in the next 5, 6, 7 years. And I think that's pretty good to put 25,000 in and then get 100,000 back 5, 6 years from now. To me, that like seems like it makes sense. Okay, thank you guys for watching this video. This is one of my first videos on stocks and analysis that I'm putting out on YouTube. Definitely want to put a lot more videos out on Palantir and a lot more videos out on other companies that I'm thinking of that I'm interested in and that I'm thinking of investing in. I do have a startup, so if you guys want to check that out, if this video brought you any value, you can definitely check it out in my description. Don't want to plug it too much, but yeah, excited to see where this Palantir journey goes. And if you have any questions on the company, any more analysis you want to see on the company, please comment them down below. I'm definitely looking to pump out that content because I want to see where this goes over the next 5, 6 years. So I'll see you guys in the next one.